We're on. We have quite a group here. We planned for 50 coaches. I think we also have some team coaches, which is great. The books and everything here is, of course, for the goalie coaches, and team coaches are most welcome to join us and be here. And if there are any goalie coaches here who didn't get a book, get in touch with Justin. I'm Thomas Magnusson. I invited you here, and I hope to be able to speak to every one of you during these 2 days. We'll have a great opportunity to meet and to share, as we always do in the goalie community. I will be hosting this, and to my assistance, I will have Justin Goldman, who has a chance to present himself, because we have a microphone we have to share. So we do it one thing at a time here. You have the schedule here, and I think we will go pretty much like this, but we will also find time for discussions. We will have time for Q&As at the end of each presentation. The only goalie part that will be with the whole group will be with Steve Briere tomorrow. But the rest will be here for us. I think it was a really interesting introduction, and we are going in the direction in our Department of Development for Swedish Hockey, which I am fortunate enough to say that it was introduced from the goalie side. To go in another direction, to not have all the predictability in coaching and how we practice, because that's something we've been thinking a lot about in the past 2 or 3 years, that in goalie coaching we have been very predictable. We have been working very much on what Job was talking about, telling the goalie this is going to happen. We want to work with the fundamentals. We want to do that first, and then we want to challenge them. I believe that we need to bring the challenge in earlier. I think we will have time to discuss that, and we will have that emphasized when Dave Alexander will get here, because he was also introduced to this a couple of years ago and can tell us a lot about how he's working with his goalies in St. Louis, and also as a goalie coach for Team Canada here. So we're very fortunate that he got the chance to come. I will start this off by saying I've met a lot of you guys during these years. We've come a long way in developing the game of goaltending. I deeply believe that we need a change. We need to be challenging the goalies more. We need to incorporate the goalies in the team practice more. We need to think about how to keep up with the level that we now see in goal scoring. We were ahead for a long time. We were ahead because we were the individual coaches. We were the skills coaches. But now we have skills coaches on the teams. So we see the level of scoring on all levels is going up. The level of goaltending, if you look at save percentage, it's going down. So we need to cooperate like we have been doing, but even more in the future. So that's why a meeting like this is so important, that we meet, we challenge each other, we cooperate, and we share. And we keep doing that to move the game of goaltending further. And I know it's going to be even more important in the future. So that's why we bring in a lot of experts to have great presentations and have time for discussions. And to assist me, I have Justin Goldman, the goalie gil, who I believe every one of you know something about and have been in touch with.
Thank you, Tomas, for this opportunity and for bringing all of us together. And I just wanted to say that these experiences, these opportunities to come together and share are extremely important and really valuable. And anytime I talk to any of the goalie coaches here, it's always just how rare these opportunities are. how important it is for us to come together and share. But at the same time, we're also learning together. And I think learning is one of the key phrases that we'll be hearing a lot of, throughout these next 2 days. It's so great to have the opportunity to surround ourselves together and come together, but also learn from, the head coaches and what they have to say as well. And that diversity is extremely important. And I just want to stress that everyone be authentic. Whatever you have to share, whatever you have to say about any of the topics that are being discussed here, the authenticity that you bring to an event like this is what makes it so special. Because everyone has different experiences, everyone has different views of what we see in the game of hockey. And those diverse views really contribute to the fabric of change with the goaltending position. And we've seen more change, I think, in the last few years than maybe, any other stage in time. So with that being said, it's amazing to have the opportunity to introduce Hannu Nykvist, 35 plus years with the Finnish Hockey Federation and working with Red Bull Salzburg. But one of the things I love most about getting the opportunity to learn from Hannu is the human side of player development. And I think there's a big difference between player development and human development. And when it comes to human development, I don't think there's anyone better to explain and teach that side of the game than Hannu. So, Hannu, take it away.
Thank you for those kind words. I'm almost like a shy getting ready. International Ice Hockey Federation, Sweden Hockey Federation, thank you so much for having me here. Thomas, thank you so much for carrying the torch on the tradition of Goalie Symposium. Hope your followers will do the same job if you one day decide to retire. So, wow. And I have a great memories from our first meeting. So we had a nice lecture about the skills and the learning process. And I'm going to turn now a little bit the tables around and talk more about what is center of this learning. So it's a human being. And Thomas gave me this nice, highly philosophical topic called holistic approach for coaching, which is actually the size of the universe. And I need to squeeze it somewhere in the 45 minutes. So I will be maybe struggling during this lecture. There's some slides that Justin made in English that I hope you can understand. And I just try to do my best. But anyway, let's go a little bit for the history of this holistic approach. There's actually it started in this form in Finland, and there was a guy called Rauli Rauhala who was working in mental institutes in his time, and he wasn't satisfied how the people were treated, and he kind of developed this kind of a holistic approach for human and the concept of the human. Harri Rindel is my good old-time friend who's providing me grassroots level reflections around these nice topics. And the key guys are Alpo Suhonen. Alpo was the first European NHL head coach. So he have a quite background. He's been working in theater all over. Jyri Puhakainen is author of this. He basically grabbed Rauhala stuff and translated for the coaching. And I don't need to tell you that it's a huge big news or bomb that 1995 when he announced that the human is something more than a machine. But I think at that time for the Finnish sport authorities, it was a kind of bomb. So they were basically declared as public enemies of the society and communists and everything, and they tried to isolate them. And so I think that some people in the church were not happy about that situation. But okay, now the waves have come down, and it's more like getting in the mainstream a little bit under different labels, like comprehensive coaching is, I think, the word they use mostly. So, briefly my story. If you want, you can check in LinkedIn profile where I have been, what I've been doing, with who I've been working. That's irrelevant in this point. And I think that my case, the only thing is I have been hell of a lucky that I had a chance to work with the different organizations, different countries. from the Stanley Cup winner level to the beginner level. That's, I think, gives me my perspective. And it's so funny when I look at this whole world of the sports and how much we analyze the game. Almost every team is now like some kind of research unit. There's millions of diagrams and everything, but I seldom hear too much stories about the player himself. And this lecture about this holism is not actually telling how you should coach, how you should execute your edge work or whatever, but maybe this gives a little perspective how you can approach the human you are coaching, and also for yourself. So in my story, because this is also my story as a coach, this comes before everything I studied afterward, later in the coaching. So this is basically, even the physical skills, technical skills, whatever, I think we need to set our coaching philosophy and some way find out what is our concept for human. Okay, let's start then from the player. Here we have a goalie in his environment, and that's, I think, it can be the worst scenario and the best scenario. There's a lot of people, each area is basically covered by specialists, and then even outside this one we have this university guys studying and making all their charts and everything. But goalies here basically like in a assembling line, and you have each pit stop here, somebody's like implementing isolatable skills in that player, and he goes on and he goes on. So basically, like who's in control? The whole information is so fragmented all over. Is the head coach should have some kind of overview of this? A little bit doubt about it. He has so much other stuff to do. Some other people, maybe the goalie coach or the goalie himself. Okay, for sure, different environment clubs, this chart could be a little bit different, but the principle is that if you think about 14, 15 years old goalie and this is specialists and advisors around, mentors, whatever, how mature he is to control all this information. So what I try to do as a goalie coach, at least instead of after ice sessions, going with my coffee cup in the coaching room, I try to always be involved off ice. If there's some mental coaching, I want to talk with the mental coach, physio, massage, everything. I want to collect that information to myself so I can reflect it in my goalie and help him, let's say, to take more ownership of the process. So I'm a little bit kind of filter and a buffer between this and give him at least some kind of peace. In a best case scenario, this could be a hell of a supportive network for goalies development. But in a worst scenario, it can be also nightmare. In big organization, basically, all these blue bubbles, they try to justify their existence in the organization. They want to grab the piece of the goalie to tell that I'm so important here. So my question is, organization, coaches, do we fill the programs with the goalies or should we fill the goalies with the programs? That's about it. And I think this is a little bit reflecting this environment through the whole lecture here. So basically, what is this holistic approach? It's a one, and we are doing a human work. We have the whole process. We start analyzing the goalie. We have the goalie in front of our face. We have a training. We have all the execution. We have an outcome. So the whole process is in front of us, name called goalkeeper. And couple of words. I have to be fast here because there's a lot of stuff. And I want to try to leave some room in the end when I talk about the game. But research. We know how much research is done. I just want to give you a couple of ideas about the research. Here we have a great philosopher and an engineer. They have their tools and something is hidden under the cloth. And they both use their tools and they do the measurement and here's the outcome. So they are basically researching the same object, but the result is obviously quite different. Okay, where this is taking us. So empirical research collects data through the direct observation or experimentation, not relying any theory or speculation. It involves a systematic investigation, measurement, and analysis based on the real-world evidence. Ontological philosophy is more studying the being of the existence and reality. It tries to explore the fundamental nature of the things and what kind of entities are in there and how they rely on each others. So there's a little bit two different kind of research we can do. And good example is, for example, that the human circulatory system was discovered 1628. And after that one, it became the target of the empirical research. But we can logically claim that the humans didn't have this circulatory system before 1628. So information is coming, changing. What is this holistic concept of the human? It's basically including embodiment, situationality, and the consensus. So these are basically the three forms. If you are not familiar with these ones, you can have a little mind game. Think about yourself without embodiment. We take out of your body. So you have some kind of mind in this world, but nothing is coming through your senses, nothing is happening, you don't feel anything, you don't see anything. Take your consensus out. It's just a biomechanical robot in this universe. Take the situationality, our environment, out. You can basically put yourself in the empty space. No impact, nothing coming through your senses, in your mind, in your brains, any feelings. And this is basically how this empirical and ontological research talk together. We call these like images of the human is this empirical research. So it can be anatomy, food, whatever, speed, flexibility, games, speed, blood pressure. And we can take millions of them. If we put them together, we will never get the complete human. It's always like something is missing. And there's always will be something new to research. But this ontological concept of the human, it's like reframing this whole thing. And it's also justifying the empirical research. So they are like two parallel lines that walk hand in hand together. And if there's something new information coming in the empirical research that doesn't exist in the ontological concept, then the ontological concept have to maybe rethink something and format its way on the different directions. So these are basically all together. And now I go a little bit deeper those consensus and embodiment and situationality. And this is funny thing, like human consensus, cognitive part. It's been millions of studies in the history, everything been trying to study what it is. And now this one poor goalie coach tried to put it in one slide. Holy moly. So basically we have this blue is like the consensus. And we have outside a phenomenon, object, whatever, it's an edge work. And I don't even want to read this one. You get something out of it or read it later on in materials. But basically these phenomena outside, it's like a mind. And in our consensus, it becomes like a meaningful thing. We understand something is something. They can't be right or wrong. We are not arguing about that one. And this network of these relationships is our consensus. So I think the key word to take out here is the meaning of relation. So that's kind of our consensus is working. And we can't see never the consensus. When you ask the brain surgeries, where is the consensus? you never get an answer. Nobody can tell me where it exactly is. And if somebody of those great researchers come to tell me that the meaning of the 2-on-1 locates exactly here, I will buy him a nice bottle of Dom Perignon. So only the way how we can see our consensus is what is the content in the consensus. Everybody is. Does it make any sense? Good. Okay, so the meaning relationship, basically, what is the meaning? That it creates our worldview. So I think from the coaching point of view, like how we coach is how we get our message through. And it basically goes through with these meaning relationships. But also the one important thing to point out is that this meaning relationship also, it creates how we see the world. So, for example, when we try to give our message through the players, I have seen cases, and I know cases, for example, that coach is pushing his own agenda. You have to play this east-west pass exactly like this. And the goalie, whole history, whole idea is fighting against that one. Or if I, for example, get the chance to work with an NHL goalie, what is my challenge? The history of these meaningful relationships and the worldview is so strong that how I can make my selling. If I pick, let's say, Mr. X from the NHL, he's already there, he's been working so hard to get over there, so his identity is so strong. And then comes this goofy goalie coach says that maybe I think you're a little bit clumsy. You should maybe develop your edge work a little bit. And is your body control maybe good enough? So that's the conflict with what is a lot of going on. And we have a tendency to fill up the goalie's head with information. Oh, we love, head coaches love that they have a big bucket of information and it's poured in and then we expect something to happen. And higher picture is, maybe you have seen it in your daily actions. And I think that consensus, that's maybe the biggest takeaway. And I have a good example about this mental training. One, I don't tell any names, it's not relevant, but one organization, there was a mental coach. And you know how it is when the players go in there and come out and the other players are asking, how was it, what happened there? And that was the best answer I ever heard was this one guy said that, I think this shrink needs a little bit help. So I think the words didn't match in that case. So that's some ideas about the consensus. Then it's the next big part is this embodiment. I'm a little bit too fast. So basically each goalie, we have our individual body. And through that body we have an individual relationship to the world. And embodiment is also the gateway that opens the field of the consensus. So that's how this consensus embodiment are basically working together. And we have some like organic level things. When the heart is pumping, it's a raw work. And it doesn't like do his pumping job and creating any concepts or things like that. And our body really understands the world. Those guys who have been in the net himself, if it was too hard training, you feel next day in your legs that, okay, now my body really understands this world. You have some injuries, impact outside, body immediately understands what's going on in my body. Food, you eat some bad food, boom, you're puking. So there's some like organic level things that are not related with the consensus. They might create some experiences for us, but mostly they are like organic events. So like one great dancer said once interview that when I'm dancing, I'm the dance. I don't think that I lift up my hand. I don't think that I have to take a step somewhere. I'm just united with what I'm doing. And I think that's from the point of view of the sports. That was this embodiment means. And that's for I think for the coaches, the main thing is that for sure we can analyze the movements, how accurate is a shuffle done or whatever. But the other side of the coin is that can we get in that world how the goalie himself experiences his movements. And I think that's where the coaching is really like relying in this world. So basically, goalie as a body also view himself as living, experiencing, feeling person directed towards certain values and certain goals, not this machine that we talked about earlier. Only me. Technical issues. So one takeaway also from that embodiment, I think nowadays the whole thinking about human being is so brain-centric. So we can almost say that we have when we are human body, we are citizens of two states. One is the body, and somewhere our mind is going here. And I really really think that if you take the brains out from our body, it's just a helpless bunch of cells. There's nothing happening. So it always needs this integration. And if we study the brain, scanning, measuring chemical or electrical impulses of nerve cells, the study basically describes the brain events physically, only the physical event in there. But it doesn't say nothing about what kind of experiences or emotions those events are leading. So that's you can make the separation of the bodily things and our mind, and how our body is functioning. And then comes the last one, situationality, basically the playing field of the life. So we cannot understand the athletic or goalie separate from the world. Embodiment and consensus really require the relationship to the world. And then we have these structural elements that can be chosen, friends, hobbies, club, whatever, or they can be given, genes, nationality, skin color, whatever. These are the things we can choose. Or they can be ideal. It can be like club coach values, norms, team atmosphere, relationships, as experienced as content. So these are basically the structures around us that surround us. And I think when we are goalie coaches, we work so closely with our goalie. I think I try to really understand my role and my responsibility, how I'm shaping and helping the goalie getting forward on his career or even his entire life. So just reminded that we are so significant persons in the goalies' lives. What do you think, Axel? Maybe I wasn't total asshole when I coached you.
No, I think you give me as a player many different questions that I didn't have from coaching before.
Yeah.
And, I would describe you as a wise man in life.
And we can still talk after all these years. That's good. Yeah. And after this worldview, basically, it also creates the goalkeeper's identity. So our identity is always like built in from those relationships. And the interesting thing is these relationships, basically, they create those like roles. And those roles are start to build up some characters around us. If we deny all these relationships, can we even talk about that we are humans at all? So basically this situationality is like a kind of mirror in outside from which we look what we are, who we are, and what maybe we want to become or whatever, but it's like it's so meaningful. So basically our skin is not just the limit. We are way much more our environment as we actually think about, and especially on these identity bases. And each goalie life situation and their environment, it's such a historical whole that can be only understood from the perspective of the goalie's point of view. If you want to understand the human, you have to understand what kind of environment he is, what kind of experiences he's having. That's where we start to connect together. And I think here is the pointing out this one, that something is touched or moved in a goalie's environment, in some level it affects who we are. Even minor thing or a bigger impact always affects how we see the world. It goes maybe through our body or it goes through our consciences, but some affections are over there. I have seen cases, for example, when some coach is telling for the 14-year-old kids, because he was a little bit struggling with shuffling, and you are not coachable. Think about that 14-year-old kid. He's so excited. He want to play hockey. I love this thing. And then comes this coach that you are not even coachable. And what's the process? What I should do? What does it actually mean that I'm not even coachable? It's a hell of a conflict in his whole identity. Or a little bit other information, like an example about the situationality. Been mentoring one goalie who is in academy in the USA, and once in a week he goes on the ice with one goalie coach. Actually, I know him, so we have a good relationship. And I did some goal setting with that goalie. But when he went to that separate ice with that coach, then I sooner or later find out that should this individual ice also be integrated with those goals, what the goalie is having. And in one Zoom, I suggested for that goalie that should you talk with your goalie coach that I have this season plans, like I should develop this and this, and I should get this and this, and the shock on the other side of the screen. Should I talk with the goalie coach? And I asked, like, is he getting some permanent brain damage if you have some conversation with him? And then they suddenly started to find out. They opened up the conversation. Well, actually, what we are doing here together and where we're going. And then the whole ice sessions went in a totally different level. So this is also situationality. It wasn't anymore like just a drill salad. So, and you can also use these ones like kind of channels of coaching. So we have to know that if we want to work with the consensus of meanings or attitudes, maybe the gym is a little bit wrong way to fix those things. And if I, for example, take this embodiment, I think it's like a dual meaning. For sure we can develop max VO or strength or power production, but then the other part is that this experience, this bodily experience that is coming from this practice. And I think this bodily experience is way much more important for the goalie instead of just having this My VO max is 63. Okay, it's 63. I've been measured myself in my hockey career so many times, and my time it was basically I go to the test and then I go back to practices. Those tests were totally meaningless for me, and I don't know even who used it or what was the process of those tests. But emphasizing this bodily experience, and as a coaches and all this research system, we got so much general information. So there's bookshops full of endurance, elasticity, jumping, plyometrics, whatever. But then the second part is the athletic goalie specific information. So in my world, I see this today that this general knowledge of the sports, it's kind of background there where I can lean if needed. But all my actions are basically goes around this goalie specific information what I gather, because that's more related of the goalie's experience of himself. Good. And to get things a little bit more complicated, this is not done yet. So basically this whole ecosystem, and I like really this, that one of the concepts of the holism is that the whole is formed through the diversity and the integration of these different dimensions of being. Because we all have our different body and different body relationship. None of us situationality is the same. And those things that mean something, they are totally different. We see something over there, I get hell of a scared, and Justin can say that that's really nice. But we see the same phenomenon there. So that makes us basically so unique what we are. And like it was mentioned today, the whole is more than the sum of the parts. I've been a lot of times thinking about what that actually means. And that's one of the explanations is that when we have this kind of a theoretical three elements, when these three elements, like a bodily experience with the consensus, with something coming out of the situationality, when all these elements start to like work together and resonate together, they might start to create some new characteristics which none of these three elements can't create itself. So Rolling Stones, if you put the Mick Jagger only on the stage, it's not Rolling Stones. So you need Keith Richards there, you need the Ronnie Woods, okay, already gone, John Watts. So all these individuals, when they were together, that created that something really great over there, and that chemistry between those ones. So it was like a new characters came out from these separate things. And this resonates and change is reorganized through our whole life, from the day we were born till the last breath. It's always evolving. After this meeting, it will be different. I'm not sure which way it's different, but for sure it's a different this your experience and your whole life worldview. Maybe somebody start to think about my coaching, that okay, what I'm doing, and it doesn't make sense at all with this guy was talking. Somebody make some picks, but that's up to you. So here I've just put together some core things about the concept, and I still think that one of the main thing is this world relatedness, how strongly we are involved with our environment. And I think the second one is also that the goalkeeper's subjective human experience is always the foundation and central focus in a coaching process. Go back my days, for example, talk a lot of colleagues, who was the best coach for you? Almost every time comes out that coach, he gave me a feeling that he cares about me. So it went quite deep in the experience level. And then the next sentence, and gave me the ice time. That's the thing. So that's basically the idea, what we mean when we're talking about the holistic approach for coaching. And for sure, one main thing is also the dialogue. When we talk and we want to create those experiences and relationships of meanings. And here I go a little bit for the coaching process. So I think that's quite familiar for everybody. You're planning your job, then you start coaching, and then you give a feedback for the goal. I think there's nothing new in that one. The only thing is that most of the goalie is involved only in execution and feedback, but not in planning. If I a little bit turn it around, if you're the goalie coach, somebody's planning all of your work for you, and now you go to do your coaching. How do you feel? I think some way integrating our goalies already in the beginning for the process, what's your feeling, what you view, what you should do, how you feel that, for example, your edge work, how you feel of physical features, you have any ideas for the coach where we should go. I think you can increase the commitment level totally different levels, because then it becomes more and more the goalie's project, not the organization project, not the goalie coach project. It goes back to the goalie. And dialogue. It's a funny thing, this word dialogue. I think it comes from the Greek. It's a logo is a word, and dia means that something is going through, but it also means that something that is in between. And from that, there's been, I think, good idea that we have to create some kind of meeting room where we talk. And so this is not like an interactive or anything. We're talking about real dialogue. So here we basically, I stay as a human I am. I'm not going under your skin. You stay there. You don't have to come under my skin. That's where we change our ideas. And I think the interesting point of this whole dialogue is that when I'm talking like Thomas right now, actually I'm organizing my world, not your world. And when you're talking to me, you're basically organizing your world, so you understand me by your organization of yourself. That's how I see this dialogue. And what we coaches are struggling is the last, at least I am, because there cannot be any experimental knowledge of the unrealized possibilities. We try to open the view that if you do this and this, you can do this, and maybe one day you play over there. One player struggling AHL team, many years, always having a little bit question, am I good enough? Am I practicing hard enough? What should I do better that I get my chance? But because you don't have this bodily experience to measure yourself up there. So how you can describe that one for him? Thank God he got a couple of games over there and got a little bit relief and get the monkey out of his his back that, okay, I can do it. Now I just need to find a chance. But it's so challenging to talk these hypothetical things. And some way, like, I think that goes quite for the goal setting. If we have right now here and we put up the goal here, and you can on the way create any successful steps that keeps the motivation on and blocks the frustration out. I think that's where a lot of wisdom of the coaching relies. The last one, the game. So my question is the game a cognitive construct? Or if it is, how much or how less? And some of my goalies that I have been mentoring, I made to interview them, and again referring these studies and game analysis, but I gave them themes like skill, time, game reading, feeling. What do you feel in the game? So basically, what is your own experience of the game? Not this analytics, anything. You are the player over there. How do you feel? And these were the answers. I'm not thinking, I'm just playing with my instincts. I keep my package together so it feels good, and the play comes naturally on its own. I don't think about my skills during the game in any level. I can recognize the practiced patterns in the game, and especially how fast the players are moving. I read game kind of a moving points. I'm sensing the line where the pass is going. If I don't feel that I'm in a shape, I can't see anything. My instincts are not working. If my heart rate is okay for me, let's say comfortable, I feel myself relaxed. And time is only now. Scanning is important. I can see the puck, but I can also see what's on the sides of the puck. I listen to emotion, the feeling in my body, and it's different from day to day. I kind of feeling the skills in my body, and everything is coming automatically. I read some what might happen in the game, but I also have to be ready for unorthodox solutions. But I still aiming that all my movements and the observations in the game is kind of natural and comes easily out of my system. That's interesting, the next one. Sometimes the practicing can take me in the wrong direction. If I first start to think about that I need to be good in this game, that's a moment when my focus is totally disappears. Every game is a new game. I can't recreate my game. It's always a new event. Couple of more. In a good day, everything is just flowing in front of my face. If I don't have a feeling that I'm not in a shape, I can't see. I need to do something extra that I feel some confidence about myself. That's just the person I am. That was a funny quote. I find out that I need to do something extra, and that gives me confidence. And that was his way to do the things. And there's some kind of a bubble where I am, where I'm playing. So you can see the real world of the goalies, how far away it is actually all this sport industry studying, analyzes. And I think these experiences are the experiences that should count in our coaching. And our conversation, our talks should be going around these experiences. Practicing is a little bit different. So basically, a lot of talks about those skills. You have to practice so good skills that when you play the game, you have to forget your skills. And everything has to just come out automatically in the flow. And we can basically say that now I'm getting quite high dimensions with this one, but the game subject that we call a goalkeeper, the game, the play act, what about if we start to see it as an expression of his game skills, rather than just edge work or depth and analyze or something like that. If you see that there's edge work on the ice, I see that there's a goalie, there's a human who is doing the edge work over there. So basically the game, it's opening from the ground zero, that is a goalie's own body. And if I even try to some way analyze these experiences, some intuitive level feelings, the goalie is basically seeing the dimensions of the players, their movements, their directions, and reading all that in his body. younger goalie, still struggling with his skills, he have to pay a lot of attention of his own body. When your skill level is higher, you can basically forget your body and you can forget your skills. You're just scanning and seeing and feeling the game. So, does it make any sense? At least those who's been standing between the pipes, I think that's an interesting world. And I bet you that even more interesting is start to have a conversations with the goalies around these topics. And I had one talk with Alko Suhonen, and when we are coaching and getting our job done, because he's so highly related with this holistic approach, and basically telling that human is basically organic. Human is a biological living being having a bodily consensus. I think that's his when he squeezed all his philosophy together. But he asked also me that, okay, is your coaching book like a cookbook? I have a recipes for every week and I just implement it. On the other hand, you can say that if you have ingredients, is three stars Michelin cook can make also a better meal out of it. But the sausage part then is a little bit different. So basically how we build up our coaching, and that thing has been reflecting since this 95 when I first time started to read these things about the human, and it's been there in some forms in my doings. And that's how I try to see, understand, scan the goalies that I'm coaching. And but I will never talk about this one to goalies, only if asked. This is just me. Maybe they see it the way I'm behaving, I'm acting, what kind of a conversations I'm having, what kind of atmosphere I'm creating around there. So that's ideas about the holistic coaching. Last fast slide before I stop is this the mega paradigm of coaching. If you want to be a holistic coach, there's many ways to be a coach, but you can only achieve that by understanding the whole person. Thank you.
Hannu, awesome presentation. Thank you for sharing that. I've come to the conclusion that some of the best goalie coaches I've ever met are also some of the best learners. And the work and the learning that Hannu has done over the past few years on these topics is so fundamentally crucial to our role as goalie coaches. So great job synthesizing all of that information in this presentation. I also just wanted to say in the book, there's an unbelievable chapter that includes Hannu. So there's more information, more insight from him in the book, which is one of the reasons why we shared it with all you guys. So I don't know if we have, we got time for one or two questions. If anyone has a question for Hannu, raise your hand. Anyone? Be sure to pick his brain when you get a chance outside of the room, because we all know Hannu has many, many Hannuisms. Maddie, you got a question?
So, right now, if you went, say, back to Red Bull argumentatively, the environment you were able to create then versus maybe environment now with more of a holistic approach. How you develop a program in Red Bull, is it just to try and give a physical answer or environment, taking your philosophy?
Okay, yeah, now I got it, yes. Okay, in that case, and I was already when I went there, and great organization, great people, a lot of good stuff going on there, and I also learned a lot over there. But the key point is that if you have a vision, let's say if I go, we can forget the Red Bull. If I go to some organization and I want to build up something over there, then the key point is I need to have a vision how the thing looks like. And okay, I might have some strategies and plans, but I need the people to execute that strategy. And for example, in that case, I took two qualified coach with me, that I knew that they can implement my vision. So first the vision, then the people, and then you start to think about strategies and what's doable. Because without these people, all these lights, all the strategies are basically useless. Does that answer your... So when you get somewhere, you sign a deal that I'm responsible for the organization, grab as much power as you can. That's your only survival. Otherwise you will be, because we goalie coaches, we are not the highest level in the chain, food chain over there.
Okay, awesome.
Good.
Thank you very much, Hannu. Okay, we've got a quick 10-minute break.